From ghouls and spirits to long-legged beasts and things that go bump in the night, spooky ghosts are a multicultural lore that has been around for thousands of years, and Pokemon are no exception, having tons of ghost types, ranging from Pokemon helping lost spirits pass through to the afterlife, to Pokemon either trying to curse or kill others. There is a wide spectrum of entities, but which of these ghost-type Pokemon would you be happy to have as a spectral house guest, and which ones would have you looking for a paranormal investigator? I'm Kyle with Pokebinge, and this is Ghost-type Pokemon Good to Evil. But before we get started, just a couple ground rules. We'll be judging these Pokemon by the characteristics of the species as a whole, meaning we won't be looking at individual instances of the Pokemon in question. An exception can be made for some legendary Pokemon, but this will be on a case-by-case basis. And secondly, we'll be grouping these Pokemon up by their evolutionary lines. As usual, we'll be starting with our most noble and honorable creatures, and working our way down to the most evil. These Ghost-type Pokemon are the good. We're giving the gold medal of good to the King Pokemon, Shadow Rider Calyrex. This legendary has been said to rule Galar since ancient times. Shadow Rider Calyrex is also one of the few Pokemon that can both understand human speech and speak telepathically back. One of the legends that is known about Shadow Rider Calyrex is that it saved countless people and Pokemon from a meteor strike due to its ability to see into the future. That, coupled with the fact that Shadow Rider Calyrex is still viewed as a benevolent Pokemon and seemed to be a king in ancient Galar, means it more than deserves our gold medal of good. From one legendary to another, we have the moon Pokemon, Lunala. This bat-like Pokemon is said to be an emissary of the moon itself, helping transition the day into night. While Lunala is known to have the power of being able to open Ultra wormholes, it doesn't do this to allow the Ultra Beasts through, but just because Lunala is said to live in their world as well. If we look at the series, Pokemon Evolutions, Lunala is also an extremely powerful Pokemon in battle, nearly defeating the strongest Ultra Beast, Necrozma. Since Necrozma is the biggest threat to the Alola region, plus the fact that Lunala is held in high regard by the residents of Alola, it more than deserves our silver medal of good. The bronze medal of good is going to the Elder Tree Pokemon, the Trevenant line. Okay, so let's get this out of the way now. Some of Phantom's Pokedex entries are some of the saddest and darkest in the entire Pokemon universe. A tree stump possessed by the soul of a child that passed away in a forest, becoming a Pokemon. That is pretty dark, and while it is messed up, it's more sad than anything and definitely not evil. Phantom basically acts as a normal, good-natured kid, albeit as a sentient piece of wood. Actually, it's Trevenant that lets the Elder Tree Pokemon claim our bronze medal of good. They're said to control the forest where they live, acting as a guardian of sorts, both to the plants and the Pokemon that also call the forest home. If someone harms the forest, Trevenant is said to curse them. But since it only does this to those who are willingly hurting the forest, we see Trevenant in the role of a guardian. A pretty recent addition to the Pokemon universe is up next. The ghost flame Pokemon, Hisuian Typhlosion. Compared to its Johto counterpart, the Typhlosion of Hisui are known to be very calm and relaxed. In addition to their peaceful nature, Hisuian Typhlosion are said to be looking for lost souls while staring off into the distance. And while they do eat the souls, it doesn't do this to capture them. Instead, the Hisuian Typhlosion's flames purify the lost souls of those it eats, before releasing them from the flames encircling its neck and helping guide them into the afterlife. Here's hoping this regional variant makes more appearances down the line, helping more lost spirits along the way. Next is the stealth Pokemon, the Dragapult line. To be honest, we don't have too much to go on where the Dragapult line is concerned. What we do know though, is that Dragapult, as well as Dreepy and Drakloak, are ghosts of an aquatic prehistoric Pokemon. These Pokemon are some of the few that are said to live in ancient times, but are not revived by a fossil. The Dragapult line is shown to be very close as well, with Dreepy preferring to stay on top of Drakloak's head, or in the holes of the sides of Dragapult's head. While Dragapult launches Dreepy at high speeds towards its opponents, it's believed that Dreepy greatly enjoys this. Also, if Drakloak loses the Dreepy that rides on its head, it will look for it until they find the missing Pokemon. Time for another regional variant, the Bonekeeper Pokemon, Alolan Marowak. Due to the large amount of grass types found in Alola, the Marowak of the area were able to adapt from its normal ground type to the Ghost Fire combo in order to protect itself. Alolan Marowak are often seen with the bones they carry on fire and dancing at night. This is actually a form of them mourning its lost allies, and to bond with fellow Marowak. Being burned with the fire that Alolan Marowak have lit on their bone clubs is said to burn endlessly. Even water won't relieve the pain. And as awful as that sounds, it's not like Alolan Marowak are going out of their way to do this, and we admire how close-knit they are. The second legendary in this category is up next, the Mischief Pokemon, Hoopa. Much like another Pokemon on our list, before Hoopa transforms into its way more aggressive and evil Unbound form, Hoopa is actually more or less just a mischievous Pokemon. It's seen using the hoops that it can summon as a way to steal food and to play lighthearted pranks. Even when Hoopa interacts with others, it's seen as being a kind Pokemon and really doesn't have any malicious intent. It's even been seen using its powers in order to save those in danger at times, and fights to protect them no matter what. If you like spellcasting, you'll probably be looking for the magical Pokemon, the Mismagius line. If we're being honest here, both Misdreavus and Mismagius get a bad reputation that isn't all that deserved. Yeah, both enjoy appearing randomly to spook unwary people and Pokemon, and with Mismagius alone being said to only be interested in casting curses onto others, you might think that these two would be placed a lot lower. But it simply is not true that Mismagius is only interested in causing curses to happen. It's also been said that these Pokemon have created spells that bring about happiness or even love, on rare occasions. It is kind of impossible to say what kind of spell these Pokemon chose to cast though. The Mismagius line also has the lesser known reputation of being able to ward off misfortune towards its trainers. Cursing people is definitely awful, but seeing how helpful Misdreavus and Mismagius can be, albeit on a whim, grants them a spot here. An ancient Pokemon family, the Golurk line, is up next. These Pokemon are another group that has been said to have been around since ancient times. Much like the Golem of mythology, the Golurk line was built to help both people and Pokemon, as well as providing labor. Unfortunately, as they are Pokemon who were built to serve others, the Golurk line doesn't really act for themselves, though they have been seen in protecting other locations, as well as acting as sentries and are said to be very loyal to their trainers. With a legendary starting this category out, rounding out the good section with another seems appropriate. Say hello to the Gloomhaven Pokemon, Marshadow. Unfortunately, where Marshadow is concerned, its in-game Pokedex lore is pretty lacking, since it just mentions Marshadow being shy and hiding in the shadows of others, and becoming stronger. There's not a whole lot to go on, so we're gonna look at the movie I Choose You to help us out. In the movie, Marshadow is seen to be a guide from the shadows who leads those chosen by Ho-Oh to be the Rainbow Hero. If the Rainbow Wing is in the possession of someone who is not worthy of it and is corrupted, however, Marshadow is seen getting extremely angry and violent, attacking those it encounters, as well as being able to take over some Pokemon. Marshadow does not calm down until the rightful person takes possession of a new Rainbow Wing. While uncontrollable rage definitely brings Marshadow down, the fact that it only wants good people to become the Rainbow Hero and is looking out for them keeps them in the good section. Speaking of which, that's the end of our good tier. Now we descend down into neutral territory. These ghost Pokemon fall in the gray area.
Real quick guys, on the topic of Pokemon, if you're a Pokemon card collector, let me tell you about my favorite binders.
I started using the Voltex Premium Exotech binders. They come in 4, 9, and 12 pocket versions.
I ordered these, and in my opinion, these are by far the best quality binders I've seen.
They're really high quality side loaders, and the zipper adds an extra layer of protection, and they come in awesome colors. If you're looking for great binders and want to support the channel, use the link in the description and use code POKEBINGE to get 10% off your order, and we'll get a commission.
If you're in the US, you can get them off Amazon. Just make sure to use our code POKEBINGE to get your discount.
The Darkness Pokemon, Sableye, is getting the top spot of the gray section. Since this Pokemon has the legend about looking into its gem-like eyes will steal one's soul, you might expect Sableye to be a lot lower on the list. But let us explain why we're giving Sableye a higher ranking. There is evidence that the Pokemon is more lonely than anything else, displaying mischievous behavior in order to get attention from others. And while Sableye does eat the gemstones growing on Carbink, this simply comes down to Sableye's diet. diet. As for the story circulating about Sableye stealing souls, we believe that this is just a story. Every Pokédex entry that mentions this says that it's just believed by people and nothing more. Moving on to the grudge Pokemon, the Runerigus line. With Runerigus being the result of Galarian Yamask inhabiting an ancient painting, this Pokemon line is one of the more unique in the Pokemon universe. Once it eventually evolves into Runerigus, it's been said that whoever touches the shadowy body of Runerigus will be shown haunting visions behind the creation of this Pokemon. And while that does suck, there's no evidence that shows that this has any long lingering effects, or really causes any harm to those who see the visions. Next we have the Plasma Pokemon, Rotom. Rotom is a mischievous Pokemon, no doubt, and you may have guessed it, this Pokemon is the one we were referring to in Hoopa's earlier placement. It is a favorite trick of theirs to take control of various electrical devices in order to prank the device's owner. And while having screwed up electronics is never fun, we can assume that once Rotom decides to leave them, they resume their normal functions just fine. It's even been shown that when Rotom takes control of certain devices, it actually helps improve them, such as a Pokédex or a smartphone. Overall, Rotom just has an attraction to all things electrical, and loves a good joke here and there, and we can't fault them too much. Possibly the most complex Pokemon on our list is up next, the Renegade Pokemon, Giratina. Like we said, Giratina is a little hard to place on the good to evil spectrum. This Pokemon is said to have been banished to the Distortion world as a result of its extremely violent behavior, and in the movies Giratina appears in, it does have this behavior, though it's only due to its home world becoming polluted. Thankfully though, its rage is finally calmed, and it reverts back to its calm behavior. Giratina has also been shown to be kind to weaker individuals as well as those with no negative intentions, and it's also been shown to be fine with those entering its homeworld, as long as they pose no threat. Like Marshadow, Giratina's biggest flaw is its temper, but we also understand its anger. Our final starter Pokemon is up next, the Arrow Quill Pokemon, Decidueye. This owl-like Pokemon is said to constantly have a cool and calm demeanor. Decidueye's main skill is their ability of being a master archer, being able to knock and fire its arrows in 1/10 of a second with amazing precision. When Decidueye are pursuing those it wishes to shoot its arrows at, they're also known to be able to seemingly disappear before firing its arrow at the target. Even though Decidueye is somewhat relentless when it comes to hunting down its target, these Pokemon also seem to have a strong connection with their trainers, as well as being admired for their stealth and precision. Found in the Alola region is up next, the Sea Creeper Pokemon, Dhelmise. Since these Pokemon are found latched to old discarded anchors, Dhelmise are almost always found in the water or on the shore. The Sea Creeper Pokemon has the habit of lowering its body into the sea, waiting for its preferred prey, Wailord, to swim by in order to knock them out before draining their life force, which is a pretty brutal tactic. But then again, it is just how it hunts. Dhelmise also allows Skrelp to use its seaweed-like body as their home, so it does have some positive points. Moving on to Shedinja. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot to go off where Shedinja is concerned. Really, the Pokemon is simply a discarded hollow husk that Nincada leaves behind after it evolves. Since Shedinja is not found outside of its unusual method of evolving, this Pokemon is hard to come across, and while it is said to steal one's soul if they look into the hole on Shedinja's back, it also shares a quality of a couple other Pokemon in this category. Unless others gaze into it, nothing bad will happen to those around it. Our Pikachu cosplay entry, Mimikyu, is up next. Being universally beloved is kind of an understandable, if absolutely unattainable goal. But that's the reason why Mimikyu has the habit of using the cloth it uses to cover its body in order to resemble Pikachu. That said, unlike the mascot of the Pokemon franchise, Mimikyu has a much darker side to it. If its disguise gets broken, it's been said to hunt down whoever broke it in order to make them pay. Many have been cursed, which is the best case scenario, and others have died. Keep in mind though, Mimikyu wants to keep up the act of pretending to be Pikachu, so it doesn't actively reveal itself to others. Which means those who end up cursed or worse normally are trying to see what Mimikyu looks like under its cloth. Basically, curiosity killed the cat. Moving on to a recent Pokemon. Next is Basculegion. Since part of this Pokemon's name translates to many in Latin, Basculegion always has backup. specifically the spirits of those that have passed away during the yearly upstream journey that Basculin makes. Basculegion are known to be furious fighters in battle, not letting up if their opponent has shown any animosity. While this aquatic ghost type's behavior might seem needlessly reckless at times, Basculegion has also been regarded as a powerful and noble Pokemon. Moving on, we have our second to last regional form, the Coral Pokemon, the Cursola line. First off, we have to admit to feeling bad for the Cursola found in Galar that became ghost types due to climate changes. But both Corsola and Cursola are known to steal the life force of anyone they come across, as well as cursing them if someone accidentally kicks these Pokemon. The person cursed, however, does not feel pain or any long lingering effects, other than becoming stiff as a board until they're no longer in physical contact with the Cursola line. These Pokemon are also known to gather under moonlight and releasing the life force they have stored up, but nobody knows where that released energy ends up. And rounding out our gray area, we're giving our next slot to the spiteful fox Pokemon, the Hisuian Zoroark line. Unlike their Unova counterparts, this regional variant of Zoroark are known for being much more aggressive and violent, while they still have the ability of creating illusions at will. Those that Hisuian Zoroark create are full of spite and often used to scare those around it, and can even induce madness in those who see it. While in combat, these Pokemon are said to fight so fiercely that even their own attacks damage Zoroark's body, and they'll continue until their opponent is defeated. With that said, the Hisuian Zoroark line are known to have some good qualities about them. The adult Zoroark are seen to care deeply for the young, and if someone is lucky enough to earn their trust, the Hisuian Zoroark line are invaluable allies and friends. Finally, we get to the Ghost-type Pokemon who will either have you looking up your local Ghostbusters chapter, or at the very least, sleeping with the light on. These Ghost-type Pokemon are the bad and the evil. Starting out this category, we have the Dance Pokemon, Sensu form Oricorio. While Oricorio are in this form, their calm and quiet demeanor stands out against the Pokemon's much more vibrant and expressive forms. The dancing style that Sensu form Oricorio performs is said to be extremely graceful, helping Alolan residents of the distant Kanto region. That said, while this Pokemon is dancing, they also have the powers of calling up deceased spirits to assist them, as well as being able to create curses. Unlike some of the more mild curses from previous entries, however, Sensu form Oricorio's curses can lead to the demise of Oricorio's selected target. But since Oricorio can change its forms at any given time, depending on whatever nectar they drink, it's believed that the curses are cancelled out whenever Oricorio changes its appearance. Nobody likes to be abandoned, but the lingering grudge brings our next Pokemon to life. It's time for the marionette Pokemon, the Bayonet line. Like we said, being abandoned and the subsequent anger as a result is what brought this once normal toy plushie to life. While the Shuppet of this Pokemon line are said to gather in areas where feelings such as anger and resentment are strong in order to feed off them, Bayonet are consumed by these emotions. They are forever looking for the child that discarded them when the Bayonet was still a toy, in order to get its revenge. However, a common belief is that if the zipper that covers Bayonet's mouth is ever opened, its stored up energy will escape the body of this Pokemon, and it will revert back into a toy. A lesser known rumor is that if given enough love and care, the Bayonet line will also return into a plushie once again. Hopefully one day it will get the loving environment it so clearly yearns for. Moving on to the Drifblim line. Drifloon and Drifblim are often seen floating on currents of wind, but since they can't control where they travel, these Pokemon tend to have a melancholy aspect about them, also known as the signpost of wandering spirits, due to their inability to control where they go. Whenever someone either grabs or rides on these Pokemon though, they can be carried literally anywhere. A common belief is that if a child grabs the string attached to Drifloon's body, they'll be carried into the afterlife. Drifloon is not doing this out of any wish to be malicious. They simply want more friends. Meanwhile, if one tried to catch a ride with Drifblim, they run the risk of possibly disappearing. They don't seem to be actively trying to cause harm, but they certainly have the potential to do a lot of damage. A Pokemon created as a result of 108 spirits is next, the forbidden Pokemon, Spiritomb. Even though this Pokemon isn't particularly mobile, since it's bound to the odd keystone, Spiritomb is still able to cause plenty of trouble. While not all the spirits that join together to create Spiritomb are evil, Spiritomb has been seen as being reckless and extremely aggressive regardless. If any of the spirits that comprise Spiritomb go missing, this Pokemon will fly into a rage, attacking anything that crosses its path until the spirit returns to the odd keystone. The Coffin Pokemon, the Cofagrigus line, is up next. Okay, so we know that Yamask has another dark and sad Pokedex entry. I mean, looking at your petrified face that reminds you when you were human and crying, we can't help but feel sorry for Yamask. Once it evolves into Cofagrigus though, it seems to stop this behavior. Unlike Yamask, Cofagrigus has absolutely no memory of when it was human. Instead, they're often found in tombs, taking the role of an additional sarcophagus. If a grave robber breaks into the tomb, Cofagrigus is said to trap them inside their bodies, and it's kinda ambiguous if the grave robber ever escapes, and there are a couple Pokedex entries that mentions that some of the kidnapped people are transformed into mummies, which is really harsh. Then again, they are grave robbers. Moving on to the black tea Pokemon, the Poltegeist line. Inhabiting both teapots and teacups, these Pokemon run the risk of people accidentally drinking them. With Sinistea, this Pokemon actually wants this to happen, as it takes the opportunity to steal the drinker's life force. Though this plan is laughably bad, since the tea this Pokemon produces tastes awful, so it's always spit out immediately. With Poltegeist, it's said that the tea they produce is delicious and has no negative effects. Luckily, they also stop trying to steal the drinker's life force as well, which I guess is nice of them. Next, we have our first Ultra Beast in the category, the Fireworks Pokemon, Blacephalon. With a detachable head, bright colors, plus the fact that this Pokemon can literally explode and reform its head at will, Blacephalon is definitely one of our more unique entries. A favorite trick this Ultra Beast enjoys doing to others is to creep up behind them before exploding its head. This serves two purposes where Blacephalon is concerned. First being to surprise or scare those whom Blacephalon has chosen before then trying to take advantage of its target's reaction and stealing their life force. But since those Blacephalon does this to can recover from the initial shock relatively quickly, the window of opportunity for Blacephalon to act is actually pretty small, and almost always fails in its end goal. The Pokemon equivalent to the Grim Reaper comes in next, the Dusknoir line. While Duskull acts as a stereotypical ghost, with some cautionary tales circulating it, both Dusclops and Dusknoir are believed to be connected to the afterlife in one way or another. Several of the Pokedex entries from Dusclops mention that the body of this Pokemon is hollow and acts as a black hole of sorts, as whatever it absorbs is said to be lost forever. Dusknoir, on the other hand, is known to take both people and Pokemon into the large mouth on its belly, before spitting their bodies out and keeping the soul of its victim. It's unknown if Dusknoir is acting on its own free will, however, since some think the antenna on top of Dusknoir's head is receiving orders from the afterlife. While death is a natural part of life, we gotta question these Pokemon's methods. Plus, even though it's rare, the Dusknoir line has been known to take the souls of those still full of life. The Pokemon Calyrex fuses with in order to get its Shadow Rider form is up next, the Swift Horse Pokemon, Spectrier. It might seem like a surprise to have a Pokemon that helps Calyrex out being this low on our list, but by itself, Spectrier more than deserves to be placed in this category. In Ancient Crown Tundra, this Pokemon is rumored to be extremely aggressive, relentlessly attacking anyone who would enter its territory. During the night is when Spectrier was more active, running miles and absorbing the life force from whatever towns and villages this Pokemon passed. If Spectrier was disturbed at all, it would attack whomever they encountered, with their kicks being able to separate the victim's soul from their body. After it encounters Calyrex, however, the King Pokemon's more benign influence seems to mellow out Spectrier's more violent and crueler tendencies. The Aegislash line is up next. As their Pokedex title implies, Aegislash, Doublade, and Honedge are known for being Pokemon often associated with kings and queens. And for the most part, this Pokemon line is seemingly fine with the roles they play. But all three of the Aegislash line are known for also drawing the life force of those who hold them. Additionally, Aegislash in particular is able to take control of people and Pokemon, using the rulers of the land in order to shape the realm however Aegislash wishes. A common legend is that Aegislash once drained a king's life force, and the kingdom fell into ruin. Though this is just a rumor at best. That said, we feel sorry for anyone who picks up this Pokemon. Moving on to the luring Pokemon, the Chandelure line. And you may have noticed a running theme in our last couple of Pokemon, where they've either drained the life force of others, or caused serious harm to others. And it's really not going to get any better. What separates the Chandelure line from others in this category is while they do steal the life force from others physically, there isn't much change to its victims. Instead, Chandelure, Lampent, and Litwick use the life force in order to increase their otherworldly fire, to ensure it keeps burning. But after those the Chandelure line targets passes away, it's said that they're doomed to forever wander the earth, unable to find their way to the afterlife. And that is a really awful fate. What saves Chandelure from falling any lower is the belief that if this Pokemon line is partnered with an experienced and worthy trainer, they are extremely loyal, also hinting that they're able to slightly curtail their darker nature a good bit. Next up, the Palossand line might make you rethink your beach plans. Despite their harmless and somewhat cute appearance, don't let Sandygast and Palossand fool you. With Sandygast, if one sticks their hand into this Pokemon's mouth, they will immediately be possessed. But rather than causing the person serious harm, Sandygast simply uses them to continuously pour sand on top of them in order to become bigger. And while having one's free will being erased is awful, Palossand is why these Pokemon rank so low. Known as the Beach Nightmare, Palossand are also capable of possessing others, but by far Palossand's worst quality is the ability of being able to grab victims before pulling them under the sand, where it sucks up their life force, and there are often said to be mounds of bones buried from the victims of Palossand, which is definitely nightmare fuel. Our next Pokemon is guaranteed to give you more than one kind of chills, because we're talking about the Snowland Pokemon, Froslass. As this Pokemon is only found in snowy landscapes and mountainy areas, they're kind of hard to come across, which is a good thing. A legend circulating about Froslass is that a woman died during a snowstorm, and her spirit lingered on, creating Froslass. Men in particular who walk through whatever area Froslass lives need to be extra careful because not only will Froslass do her best to freeze her victims solid, she'll take their bodies home as decorations. And it isn't only the body of Froslass's victims that suffer. A favorite food of Froslass are the frozen souls of those who have lost their way in the snow. Much like her gruesome home decor preferences though, Froslass prefers men's souls, and will often pursue them relentlessly. Our final water-dwelling ghost Pokemon is next, the floating Pokemon, the Jellicent line. Fisherfolk and those who go on ships, or even use their water-type Pokemon to cross the sea, need to be wary of both Frillish and Jellicent. It's a common belief in the Pokemon universe that both of these Pokemon are the reincarnation of spirits of those who have died at sea. If any ship or person enters a body of water where Frillish and Jellicent live, both Pokemon work together in dragging their victims down to a watery grave, which, especially if you have a fear of the ocean, is terrifying. A favorite target of the Jellicent line are cruise ships, which they absorb the life force of all passengers while they proceed to drown them. Which, let's be real, is just massive in scale. So it may seem like a surprise that we're not awarding Frillish and Jellicent an evil medal, but trust us, they just barely missed landing in the bottom 3. We finally arrive at the first ever ghost Pokemon family next, the Shadow Pokemon, the Gengar line. We're giving them the Bronze Medal of Evil. While this Pokemon line is known as being a trio of tricksters, unlike the other Pokemon's entries who enjoy playing pranks, the Gengar line's pranks are much more mean-spirited. When they're not freaking out people and Pokemon with their jokes, Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar enjoy stealing the life force of others. Though Ghastly is the Pokemon in this line where not a whole lot of info is known, though after it evolves is where things get really dark. If Haunter licks its victim, they sometimes go into violent convulsions that do not stop until they've died. Haunter also takes in the fear of those around it, and uses it to strengthen its own power. But Gengar is by far the worst. Gengar is known to routinely stalk its intended victims in an attempt to both terrify, as well as steal their life force, and takes delight in its victims' terror and hopelessness. When Gengar Mega evolves, it loses interest in anything other than what it perceives as prey, and attempts to steal the life of everything around it. And Gengar's Gigantamax form is possibly even worse. as their huge mouths are full of cursed energy that leads directly to the afterlife, which Gengar tries to get everyone around it to enter. Next up are definitely not the kind of jack-o'-lanterns you want outside of your house on Halloween. The Silver Medal of Evil has to go to the Gourgeist line. Like other entries above Gourgeist and Pumpkaboo on our list, these Pokemon are known to take people to the afterlife, even though Pumpkaboo is the more benevolent Pokemon of the two, by helping lost spirits move on. One of their Pokedex entries lists them as being able to hypnotize people and Pokemon. But what few good qualities Pumpkaboo has goes right out the window after it evolves into Gourgeist. This Pokemon uses arm-like growths it has in order to wrap them around its prey, and enjoys its suffering. If that wasn't bad enough, Gourgeist targets anyone they come across, regardless of where they are, including their own home. After it captures their victims, Gourgeist drags their target off into the afterlife, sometimes making sounds said to be the cries of the spirits suffering in the afterlife. The Pokemon universe is actually really terrifying, but what's worse than home invasion and being forcefully dragged to your own death? How about the destruction of the world? That's pretty much the goal of our Gold Medal of Evil recipient, the Prism Pokemon, Dawnwing's Necrozma. Lunala absolutely did not deserve what Necrozma did to it. When Necrozma takes control of the Moon Pokemon in order to become Dawnwing's Necrozma, it sucks up the light produced by its unfortunate victim. Dawnwing's Necrozma then uses the energy it absorbed to fire devastating lasers from its wings, causing massive damage, severely injuring and killing countless people and Pokemon alike. Like we said before, Dawnwing's Necrozma really has no end goal, other than just widespread ruin and destruction. To paraphrase a movie quote, some just want to watch the world burn, earning this Ghost-type Pokemon our Gold Medal of Evil. And that concludes our morality spectrum. Let's wrap things up by handing out our Sinner medals. Our Sloth medal goes to the Golurk line. While these Pokemon do move, they don't do it particularly fast and often only at the request of their trainer. The Greed medal goes to Hoopa. With the power to create hoops to steal anything it pleases, need we say more? The Envy medal has to go to Mimikyu. If disguising oneself in order to take on the appearance of a beloved Pokemon isn't envious, well, nothing is. The Lust medal has to go to the Mismagius line. Since these Pokemon can cast spells to make others fall in love, this medal is well deserved. The Darwin medal goes to the Poltegeist line. Sure, Poltegeist seems to get some more smarts after it evolves, but we just can't get past the really bad plan of Sinistea wanting to steal one's life force while having to allow themselves to be drank first. For the Wrath medal, we have to give it to the one Pokemon who wants to destroy everything, so it goes to Darkwing's Necrozma. And finally, our Pride medal has to go to the Aegislash line, since they control rulers of countries into shaping the land how they see fit, and are known as the Royal Sword Pokemon. They're the ideal contender for this award. Who do you think the most noble and evil Ghost-type Pokemon are? And be sure to hit that notification bell so you can binge our other Pokemon videos. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.